All right, before I get too far in the program, let me give the results from yesterday's poll question. Thank you for participating. Had a lot of folks participating in it. And guess what? The results were 100%. Here's the question. Results: do you believe taking COVID vaccine should be mandatory or should taking the vaccine be a personal choice? 100% said it should be a personal choice. Not surprised with my listening audience. Thank you so much for participating. All right, the website, TonyPerkins.com. Again, let me encourage you to download the Stand Firm app. It is a way that you can stay in touch with us and get action items and alerts so that you can take action. Download the Stand Firm app at the App Store. Yesterday, for the first time since 1973, the U.S. House of Representatives voted to pass a State Department and foreign assistance spending bill without the Helms Amendment, which is a provision that blocks U.S. funding for abortions overseas. The appropriations package also included a permanent repeal of the measure which prohibits U.S. funding for organizations that provide access to, promote, or provide information about abortions. The full spending bill passed by a vote of 217 to 212, with 3 Democrats voting no. With me now to talk about this and more from Capitol Hill is Congressman Mike Johnson. He serves as the Vice Chair of the House Republican Conference and as a member of the House Judiciary Committee. He represents the 4th Congressional District of my home state of Louisiana. Mike, welcome back to the program.
Hey, Tony. Great to be with you, as always.
All right, let's start. I want to get into some of the press conferences and the calling out of Nancy Pelosi on the Capitol Hill for some of the draconian actions that she is taking. But first, let's talk about the appropriations bill. We see this is historic, where we see the Democrats pushing forward with abortion funding.
They do. You know, when I ran for Congress for the first time, Tony, I committed among my top priorities to do what we had done for 20 years before we got here, and that is defend the sanctity of every human life in every humanly way possible here, and also to be a good steward of limited taxpayer funding. And these giant, bloated minibus, omnibus, whatever you want to call these appropriations bills, do neither of those two things. And so that's why the Republicans and the conservatives in Congress are banded together to oppose this stuff. This is a historic thing. As you said, we've removed the Hyde protections that have saved, by some estimates, at least 2.5 million lives of unborn children just since the early 70s when we first enacted that. And it's been a part of our law ever since. It's been a bipartisan compromise that we've always agreed upon at the end of the day. But for this time, and this year, for the first time ever, the Democrats have banded together to get rid of that. And it is a tragic development in our national law.
In fact, this was one of the topics that came up at the press conference on the rally, however you describe it, on the steps of the Capitol. Our fellow Louisianian Steve Scalise spoke to this. Play clip number 4, please. I said, do we have clip 4?
Do you know that if you're in Mexico as an American citizen and you want to come back home, according to the CDC, you cannot even board the plane to come back to America as an American citizen unless you produce a COVID negative test. That's the law. Yet if you come across our border illegally, bragging that you have COVID, you're welcomed in. What kind of law and policy is that by the Biden administration? It makes absolutely no sense, and people are figuring this out.
Well, that was not the clip that I pulled the wrong clip, but that was another topic that was discussed. That is really at the heart of what is happening on Capitol Hill with the Biden administration, Nancy Pelosi taking full advantage of the COVID virus. You led an effort by your Republican colleagues to challenge this proxy voting that continues to this day.
Yeah, there's so many crises, Tony. It's easy to get lost in all of them. We've had a number of press conferences in the last few days just covering the Biden crisis with the border, as Steve Scalise was just talking about there. I was standing right over his shoulder at that press conference this morning, nodding vigorously. We all were. You're talking about the crime crisis that's going on in the country, the inflation crisis. So many things that we can hardly keep track of. They've just, as we said, voted to fund taxpayer funding of abortion for the first time in our history. And now, you're talking about the processes that they've done, unprecedented things here. Nancy Pelosi is acting in a very authoritarian manner. They enacted proxy voting, which is blatantly on its face unconstitutional. We challenged it in the courts. It's on its way through the appellate process to the U.S. Supreme Court. We made the argument that much of what's been done has been done unlawfully because the Constitution uses specific language about how the elected representatives of the people are supposed to be here to gather together to do the important work of this self-governing republic. And when they're not here, when they're literally phoning their votes in, it doesn't work the right way. And that's why I think in some ways they're allowed to get away with a lot of this.
Well, and I've been kind of on this issue, and so I'm going to stay on this issue because I think this is a significant issue I think now that she has about a three vote margin in terms of the majority. Yes. So
that's right.
And in Congress, historically, if you're not there, you can't vote. And so you have to get all of your people there. And if you've got a piece of bad legislation, you've got to really work hard to get it passed. And so if she had 3 people who were sick or 3 people who were out doing something else, she wouldn't be able to pass it. But she continues this proxy voting now for over a year, saying, we have to have it because of COVID. While some of these members of Congress, I think there's about, it's less than a dozen that haven't been there at all, but you've got some that haven't even shown back up. How can they be doing the work of the people? Others you've got going out doing fundraisers, but they're phoning in their votes.
No, you're making a very critical point, Tony, because the effect of this policy is it actually gives her a much broader margin than she actually has on paper. And the reason for that is there's a lot of constitutional conservatives in the Congress who have vowed not to vote by proxy. I'm one of them. Of course, we're not going to engage in an unconstitutional vote. And so you have a swath of the Republican Party that is not participating. And so if we get detained in traffic or we get quarantined because of exposure to COVID or what have you, we literally cannot be here. And so our vote cannot count. Whereas on the other side of the aisle, the Democrats, they can gather up as many proxy votes as they need and present them every single time. So it's one of the ways that they have been able to advance this radical leftist agenda on the country. And again, we're arguing very simply, they're doing it in an unconstitutional manner. It may be a footnote in history, but it's a very, very important issue.
Well, it's an extremely important issue when you see the types of measures that are being passed, like what we're just talking about here, appropriations bills going forward for the first time in 44 years without the Hyde and Helms amendments on them that restrict taxpayer money going to fund abortion. Hasn't happened since Hyde. It's now happening, and it's in large part, I would say, because you have the proxy voting that Pelosi has in place.
I think that's right. And not to mention the bloated numbers on these appropriations bills. They're increasing federal funding of many of the departments of the federal agencies and departments by 30-40% each. I mean, remember, we have over a $28.5 trillion federal debt. I encourage your listeners, your viewers to pull up U.S. debt clock on their smartphone real quick and look at that. It'll give you real heartburn. But our colleagues here on the other side of the aisle, these radical socialist Democrats, they don't care a whit about the federal debt. In fact, They've all subscribed to modern monetary theory. They just say print more money and we'll go further in debt. There's no impact for that. No. But of course, we see the reality. Those are fantasy economics. We live in the real world. Well, we see inflation going up, the highest in 20 years, on and on and on.
Exactly. Prices going up, inflation, what gains were made. We talked about this yesterday with Kevin Brady. The real gains that have been made for families in terms of real spending power has been eaten away by this administration in just 6 months.
That's exactly right. And there's no end in sight, by the way. I mean, remember, our number one creditor, our foreign adversary, is China. And so we're getting ourselves further and further into debt. We're digging a hole so deep that our children and grandchildren may not be able to get out of it if we don't reverse course immediately. But this administration and this Democrat majority is all in, my friend. I mean, they are, you've seen, their proposals are in trillions. We used to never even use that word on Capitol Hill. And now they just use it like they're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yeah, $4 trillion here, $3 trillion there. It goes on.
You got to get new calculators so you can make those numbers work. I want to shift gears real quickly in a couple minutes we got left here because you're on the House Judiciary Committee. The Department of Justice warning states that are engaging in audits of the election results, saying we're watching you and you could be violating the federal law. is the Department of Justice intimidating states?
It sure feels that way, and we have oversight over that department. The Department of Justice has overstepped its bounds in many ways this year. But I'll tell you, look, our system is set up so that the states have the authority over their elections. They're charged with ensuring, above all, that you have a fair and free election, that election security is ensured for the people. If we don't have that in a constitutional republic, we don't have anything. And so we are so delighted that the states have stepped up. They've seized their authority, and they're making sure that all of the irregularities and the potential for fraud and everything else that happened in the irregular, unprecedented 2020 election cycle never happens again. Because frankly, this country cannot afford for that to happen.
Yeah. What question this raises for me is, why are they worried? Why are they concerned about states actually doing due diligence to make sure their election systems are working properly? It tells me they're trying to keep something hidden. Mike Johnson, always great to talk with you. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thanks, Tony. Always a pleasure.
All right, Congressman Mike Johnson.